what would your message be to those who are fighting this war?
You've linked war with the species which are destroyed, so I think the first message we have to bring home is that there is no planet B. We only have this planet for which we have to fight, and of course we have to preserve and save for future generations. But I think if you look at war in the Middle East, let's take the war of Syria, for example, part of it is accounted to climate change. And I think we're going to see increased urbanization. And if you look at the continent of Africa, which is going to provide over 1 billion in terms of youth employment, employable people in 10, 15 years' time, we find that it's a continent which is going to increasingly urbanize. And by 2050, I think 50% of the continent is going to be urbanized. So the friction that this will create, and of course notwithstanding climate impact, of course, so we are in a scenario which doesn't bode well for the future. And we are in a scenario where we'll find food security issues, energy security, water, especially water, because I think it has been forecast, I think the CIA has put in the statement that the next war is going to be the war on water. Transboundary water, fluctuating cycles, you name it, we have it all there. And notwithstanding that climate change has also impacted 1 million species which are on the verge of extinction. Again, I bring back to the previous statement I made that we are interconnected. So all the species we're destroying, they are in a way ensuring our livelihoods now. So what's the stake in the future when there is no planet B? So that's the question as far as leaders we have to actually embrace in the conversation.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good note to end on. I'm told we're out of time for this session, but thank you very much for joining this conversation, and we'd like to believe it's just the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you once again to our dialogue partners. And most of us understand climate change. We acknowledge the risks of climate change. We understand that this is something that needs to be funded. It is warming the planet. We understand the need for urgent climate solutions. But the question still remains, who is going to pay for this? Who will fund the transformation to a greener world? And I think that is the biggest question that the world faces as it tries to solve this problem. And we want to discuss this in our next session, Funding the Solution, the Commerce of Climate Change. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker for this session, Ameenah Gurib-Fakim. She's the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Technology of the Maldives, and she's opening this session all the way from Malé in the Maldives.
The keynote speaker for this session is Ameenah Gurib-Fakim, Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Technology, the Maldives. Former Policy Secretary to the President of the Maldives.
First of all, thank you for having me here, and a real pleasure to be with our friends from India. As you're probably already aware, the Maldives is very climate vulnerable. The highest point in our country is just about 1.5 meters above the sea. And we are 1,200 islands, so the sea is just all around us. Sea level rise is a threat to our existence, which is why reducing global greenhouse gas emissions is a question of national security for us. We have increased problems of coastal erosion now happening on most of our islands. Groundwater is contaminated on every island, and our coral reefs are under stress from warming. As an island nation, our oceans are connected to every aspect of our lives, our economy and our future. We are only as resilient as our reefs, depending on them for our survival and livelihood. The problem the Maldives face is one of finance. We need access to affordable finance so we can invest in solar energy projects. The Indian government is already providing concessional financing for the Maldives to build water and sanitation systems in 34 islands, one of the largest adaptation measures. Similarly, India and Indian renewable energy companies can play a big role. We would like you to come to the Maldives and help us to build our new and renewable energy infrastructure. I take this opportunity to call upon our international community and partners to step up action not only in climate mitigation ambition, but also in support for vulnerable states, as true climate justice would only be achieved through effective solutions to address the devastating impacts of the climate crisis. Despite the gravity of our adaptation needs and the magnitude of the investments required to build resilience, we also aim to demonstrate leadership in global mitigation ambition. At a global scale, our total contribution to global emissions is negligible. It's just about 0.0035%. Yet, we are determined to be a driver of the global solution. At the moment, the Maldivian economy is largely run on imported diesel, which is dirty, expensive, volatile in price, and a huge drain on our nation's foreign currency reserves. The Maldives would like to rapidly deploy renewable energy, primarily solar, which is no surprise given our reputation as a sunshine holiday destination.